I never expected what my boss discovered after hours. It was life-changing. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. I still feel the trembling in my hands, the flutter of my heart, and the oppressive weight of the darkness around me. It was a Friday night, the air thick with silence as I worked late in the dimly lit office. The glow of the computer screen was my only companion, casting eerie shadows on the wall. I was exhausted, poring over spreadsheets, my eyes stinging with fatigue. I didn't notice the creeping shadows lurking just outside the door. But something stirred in my gut as I heard the faintest click, the unmistakable sound of a lock turning. My breath hitched. Who could be coming in at this hour? The door swung open slowly, and there he was, my boss. But this wasn't the man I knew. The usual steel-gray suit looked disheveled. His eyes were wild, as if he were a man possessed by a secret too heavy to bear. He stepped inside, glancing over his shoulder with a frantic expression. My heart raced. What had he stumbled upon? "Don't scream," he hissed, his voice a strained whisper. "You don't know what I've found." My pulse quickened, tension creeping through my body like an electric current. I could feel my skin prickling, my mind whirling with possibilities. What could be so important? He opened a file on his desk, and inside lay shocking photos, documents, and something even more sinister: names, numbers, connections that made my head spin. Each image was darker than the last, reality crashing down like a tidal wave. I could barely process the depth of what he was showing me, the scandalous web he had uncovered. My pulse thundered in my ears. Who were these people? What did they want? "Keep your voice down," he growled, the urgency in his tone almost palpable in the air. "If they find out I know," he trailed off, his eyes glazed with fear. I felt cold sweat trickle down my spine. Reality slipped away, replaced by the inquiry of silent screams that echoed through my mind. A lump formed in my throat as I realized the danger we were in. The world outside blurred into a haze. Then, without warning, his phone buzzed against the desk. He glanced at it, face paling. The look in his eyes told me everything was about to change. "They know," he said softly. "They're coming for us." My heart stopped. Who was coming? My world began to tremble as fear clutched at my insides. In that moment, nothing made sense. The electricity in the air charged with inconceivable possibilities and danger. My thoughts raced ahead as if I were an actor in a play, caught off guard by an unexpected twist. I could feel my breath hitching, my vision narrowing. Everything felt like it was unraveling. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and the fluorescent buzz stuttered as if the universe itself was holding its breath. The office descended into an unnatural silence, each second stretching into eternity. "Run," he muttered, eyes wide with terror. But where would I go? I couldn't bear the thought of leaving without knowing. The weight of the unknown sank into my chest, heavy and suffocating. There were questions, dark corners I hadn't even begun to explore. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The air felt electric with unspoken words as I processed my boss' plea, an urgency hanging between us like a razor-thin thread. My instinct screamed at me to flee, to escape the twist of fate pulling me deeper into the shadows, but a part of me, rooted in fear and curiosity, wanted more than just to run. "How do you know they're coming?" I whispered, battling the tight knot in my throat. That he glanced at the door, the confusion in his gaze morphing into a sharp determination. "We were followed." I didn't realize until after everything exploded. With shaking hands, he stuffed the incriminating papers into his briefcase, items that held our pasts in their dark embrace, exploded? I echoed, my heart racing. What do you mean, there's no time? We have to move now, and we can't leave any traces behind. This isn't just about me, they know about you too. My heart dropped at the implication. The world I knew outside was shrinking, enveloped in an omnipresent darkness. I never asked for any of this. Before I could respond, the flickering lights returned to a steady glow, illuminating the room with a harsh reality. The danger was real, and it was creeping closer. I heard muffled voices in the hallway, shadows moving with intent. My fingertips trembled as I grasped this new reality. I was now part of a conflict far larger than myself. That we need to go. His hands trembled as he collected the last of the papers, a wild fear threading into his normally composed demeanor. I felt a pull at my chest, a blend of terror and an unexpected surge of sympathy for this fractured man who was suddenly my ally in this chaos. Just then, a small sound behind me made my heart leap into my throat. I turned to see Jenna, my coworker, standing in the doorway, her wide eyes filled with confusion. "What's happening?" she breathed, looking between my boss and me, the implicit danger reflecting in her gaze. "Get out of here," he snapped, but there was a softness to his tone, a protective instinct that I hadn't realized existed until now. "Jenna, listen. We're in trouble," I said, urgency spilling into my words. "We need to leave, now." But instead of panic, Jenna stepped inside, her resolve hardening. "No. I'm not going anywhere without knowing what's going on." Her steadfastness was a beacon of hope, grounding me amid the storm. "That we don't have time to explain," my boss stated, agitation creeping into his voice. But Jenna stood firm, and somewhere in the pit of my stomach, I felt a flicker of warmth. She cared. Red lights flashed in the distance outside, spilling across the office walls. The sound of footsteps echoed ominously down the hall, a rhythmic countdown to our impending doom. "They're coming!" I shouted, fear clawing at me now. "Go!" my boss urged, urgency threading through every word. "I'll hold them off. Just run." His desperation solidified my fear. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to deny him, to fight for him, to stand against the tide together. "No." I recoiled, my heart plunging into the depths of dread. "We can't leave without you. I can buy you some time. They won't be looking for you yet, but you need to trust me. I'll create a distraction. You and Jenna must get to safety. No arguments." As he spoke, my heart broke at the realization that he was willing to sacrifice everything for our escape. A surge of determination flooded through me, merging with the thread of fear weaving through my veins. "Come on, Jenna." I grabbed her hand, our connection solid amid the uncertainty. "We have to go." "But what about him?" she whispered, panic etched on her face. "Please, we don't have time." Just as we turned to escape, a loud crash echoed through the office door, splintering the tense air. A voice boomed from outside, commanding and unyielding, making my pulse race. "Mr. Surkoff, we know you're in there. Come out with your hands up." The reality of our situation hit me like a wave. In that moment, everything shifted. My instincts screamed at me to hesitate, to consider all available pathways, but there was no time for doubt. We were spiraling into an abyss of uncertainty, and my world began to tilt. Even further, with a deep inhale, we raced toward the emergency exit, Jenna's grip firm against my shaking hand. As we neared the door, a realization dawned on me: there would be no going back. There would be no safe place to hide. Outside, the night air hung thick with tension, and for the first time, I spotted shapes darting in the shadows. My heart dropped. There was more than just my boss at stake. The threat was far-reaching, and we were now entwined in a battle that went beyond any office scandal. Then, from behind me, I heard a voice filled with relentless rage. "You think you can escape? You have no idea what you're getting into." I froze, terror gripping me as a familiar face emerged from the shadows, betraying a hidden alliance I never saw coming. It was a face I thought I could trust. It was my boyfriend. The dimly lit alley offered little refuge from the powerful emotions surging within me as I stood frozen in shock. My boyfriend, Ethan, loomed behind me, his presence an unsettling layer to the already fraying tapestry of my life. "What are you doing here?" I stuttered, my heart pounding against my ribcage as confusion twisted into fear. Ethan's lips curled into a smirk that sent an icy chill down my spine. "I'm here for the same reason you are, babe. I thought you were smarter than this. But clearly, you've aligned yourself with the wrong people." I took a step back, trying to regain composure, but the shadows of the alley seemed to close in around me. Jenna, her fingers still intertwined with mine, whispered under her breath, "Do you trust him?" The urgency in her voice was palpable, but I was too consumed by the whirlwind of betrayal and disbelief to respond. Then my instincts had told me Ethan was too good to be true, but I had chosen instead to turn a blind eye to the subtle signals. A late-night call that lasted too long, a mysterious meeting he had brushed off as work-related. Now, standing here with him as the world felt like it was collapsing around me, the truth became inescapable. "What do you want, Ethan?" I managed, my voice quivering with emotion as I fought the tears pooling in my eyes. He stepped closer, his demeanor shifting from playful mockery to something darker, something resembling possessiveness. "I want you to come home. This chaos, your boss, this whole situation, it's not for you. You're in over your head, and it's only going to get worse if you don't back away now." "Back away?" I echoed, incredulity lacing my tone. "You think I'm just going to forget everything? People are in danger." "You have no idea," he scoffed, his eyes narrowing. "I know more than you think. Your boss isn't who you believe him to be. Trust me, he's dragged you into something you can't understand." Jenna released my hand, stepping closer to me as if trying to create a barrier between me and the danger that Ethan represented. "We need to go," she urged. "He's only trying to manipulate you," but I hesitated, caught between the anchor of loyalty I felt for Ethan and the all-consuming fear built on the uncertain fate my boss faced as he attempted to buy us more time. "What are you really saying?" I asked Ethan, my voice barely a whisper. "What do you know? Let's not do this here," he replied, glancing nervously down the alley. "We can talk somewhere safe. You don't need to stay in this mess when you have options." "What options?" I shot back, desperation seeping through my words. "You think I will just walk away? After everything?" A flicker of something almost vulnerable crossed his face before the mask returned. "It's not worth it, Ash. Trust me. You don't know who you're dealing with. It'll keep you safe." That I in that moment, as night surrounded us, I realized I was on a precipice, and one wrong step could lead to disaster. My world was teetering, and if I didn't make a decision soon, the consequences could shatter everything I still clung to. "Let's go, Ash." The voice of my boss echoed in my mind, a reminder of the loyalty and fear I shared with him, of the tumultuous bond that had formed in the face of chaos. The way he protected me, even when it meant he would take all the risks. But Ethan's grip on my heart still held tightly, even as a part of me recognized the danger. "I can't just turn my back on someone who's trying to help me," I protested weakly. "Help you?" he barked, frustration lacing his every syllable. "He's using you, Ash. You're a pawn in his game." Jenna stepped forward, her voice cutting through the tension like a lifeline. "You have to choose, Ash. This isn't just about you anymore. You have to think about your future, everyone's future." A flicker of hope sparked between us. I gazed at her, seeing the resolution in her eyes as she fought for me. It was a reminder that even in the darkest hours, some glimmers of goodness still existed amidst the chaos. Yet the weight of the choices felt heavy on my shoulders. Before I could respond, the sounds of heavy footsteps grew louder in the distance, reverberating off the brick walls, and with each step, a sense of urgency wrapped around my heart like a vice. Ethan's patience frayed as he grabbed my arm forcefully, his tone switching from pleading to demanding. "This is your last chance, Ash. We need to go now, or there won't be a second chance to escape." With my heart racing, I looked between Ethan's determined face and Jenna's pleading eyes. The distance grew more pronounced, an invisible rift filled with unspoken fears and desires. It all came crashing down, and I was left with an impossible choice, one that could rewrite the story of my life. A shout rang down the alley, echoing off the cold concrete. "We're running out of time. Stand down, Surkov, or we will move in. We have you surrounded." The reality of my situation bore down on me with the weight of 1,000 truths. In one last desperate plea for clarity, I stepped back, the truth I had avoided crashing over me like a tidal wave. "Ethan. I don't know who to trust anymore. Let me show you, Ash," he said softly, desperation and something deeper hiding behind the surface. But the strains of uncertainty now filled me, and I knew, in that moment, my heart was teetering on a precipice even worse than I imagined. As I took another step back, suddenly, a piercing scream sliced through the air, drawing my gaze to a figure emerging from the shadows. My breath hitched as recognition flooded my senses. The scream belonged to someone I never thought I'd see in a situation like this, my sister. And as the world around us spiraled, I felt the gravitational pull of her presence, threatening to unravel everything I thought I knew. The chilling realization washed over me like ice water, freezing the blood in my veins. There, emerging from the darkness, was my sister, Lila, her eyes wide with panic, her breath coming in quick, uneven gasps as she stumbled into view. The vibrant blue of her blouse seemed a stark contrast against the grim backdrop of the alleyway shadows that swallowed us whole. "What are you doing here?" I shouted, the confusion exploding from me like a badly thrown punch. My heart raced not just for the uncertainty of our surroundings but also for the worry etched on her face. "Ashley. You need to come with Menno," Lila urged, her voice trembling and urgent, 1,000 unspoken words hanging in the air between us. She darted a glance at Ethan, her expression shifting from fear into something deeper, recognition, perhaps, or anger. "Why are you with him?" she accused, taking a step closer to me, her protective instincts kicking in even in this chaotic moment. Behind her, the dark alleyway felt as if it held a million secrets I could barely grasp. "He's trying to," I began, but my words fumbled as Ethan interrupted, no longer the charming figure I once thought him to be. "Your sister has no idea what she's talking about," he retorted sharply, his eyes flickering to the shadows as if sensing the impending threat trailing behind us. Lila shook her head, grounding herself. "I don't care what he's saying, Ash. You don't know him like I do. He gets people into trouble. He's bad news," she insisted, her voice growing louder, more desperate. In that moment, the heavy footsteps in the distance suddenly felt like they were within reach, echoing closer with each passing second, a ticking clock counting down our dwindling moments of safety. Ethan tightened his grip on my arm, his expression shifting back to that mix of pleading and command. "You need to trust me, Ash. I'm trying to protect you from this madness. Being with her will only put you at risk. Let her go." Lila shouted, fear giving way to anger. "You don't get to decide what's best for her. You don't get to manipulate her like this." The tension in the alley crackled like electricity as I stood in the middle of the storm, heart racing from my sister's sudden appearance and torn between Ethan's fierce grip and the fierce love radiating from Lila's plea. The weight of my choices felt heavier than before, as if the very air around us was thick with the consequences of every decision I could possibly make. Before I could respond, a band of figures emerged from the shadows, their faces masked, intimidation radiating like a palpable force. They had encircled us, blocking every possible exit, narrowing the alley's mouth like a constricting vice. "Surkov. We're taking you in." One of the masked figures barked, and I felt Lila's fingers intertwine with mine, anchoring me amidst the chaos. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. Time itself slowed, and I was keenly aware of the heartbeat that pounded in my chest, echoing in the silent screaming between us. I looked at Ethan, and for the first time, I saw not just the facade of protection he wore so well but the glimmer of desperation in his eyes that hinted at more than simple manipulation. "I won't let them take you," he said, and though his voice wavered, an echo of sincerity welled beneath the surface. "We have to get out of here, Ash. Please, enough." Lila shouted, finding her courage amidst and pushing her weight against me as if I were the anchor she needed steadiness from. "I'm not letting either of you go without a fight." But the figures were closing in, uncertainty layered in their stances, and I felt the tide of our mounting chaos crashing in on itself. Just then, another sound, a low thud, drew all our attention. From the shadows emerged the very figure I feared, my boss, Joseph, battered yet fierce, his presence creating an odd sense of hope amidst this whirlpool of dread. Get away from her. He roared, positioning himself protectively in front of me, a fierce guardian forged by loyalty and a deep, unshakable bond formed through choices made in the fires of turmoil. Joseph. I gasped, conflicting emotions flaring. I felt safe yet fear surged at what the cost of this intervention might be, a price that could inevitably drag us deeper into danger. Ethan's grip loosened, and for a fleeting moment, the world shifted. It was a brief thread of connect-ion, a handhold that made everything feel both right and perilous as the cacophony of raised voices echoed into the night, but before I could fully grasp what was happening, a loud bang exploded from the alley entrance, causing all of us to turn abruptly. A stray beam of light cut through the darkness, and in quick, frenetic motions, reality began to spiral. "Run!" Joseph shouted, urgency in every syllable. Lila squeezed my hand, weaving between the confusion, desperation heating the air. "This way!" she cried, pulling me toward a narrow escape route at the alley's dead end. As heads turned and chaos erupted around us, that I hesitated, a part of me still ominously aware of Ethan's troubled gaze, a flicker of something I still felt for him battling with the danger that hung thick in the air. But then I felt Lila tugging at my heart, a force strong enough to pull me away from the shadows of betrayal and confusion just in time. The world warped as I took a breath and followed her, ready to leap into the unknown with my sister beside me. But even as we fled, I couldn't shake the gnawing feeling that this was just the beginning. As we pressed on, a chilling reality dawned, everything was about to change. Behind us, whispers turned into shouts, and amid the tumult, I heard one word that shattered the fragmented resolve of my heart. "Ashley." Came Ethan's voice, desperate, lingering in the air like an echo that would resonate long after this night was over. And somehow, through the breathless chaos, I knew the web of fate was tightening, and the true depths of everything I had yet to uncover were just beginning to surface. The dimness swallowed us as Lila tugged me through the narrow gap in the alley, a maze of twisting turns that seemed to stretch endlessly before us, shadows dancing around us, looming like the uncertainty that lay ahead. Our hearts pounded as we ran, adrenaline buoying us forward, but a gnawing pit settled in my stomach. The echoes of that haunting Ashley no longer felt like mere words, they were a tether to my unraveling world, binding my thoughts to the chaos Ethan had thrust upon me. We darted around a corner just as a cacophony of voices emerged, angry shouts flaring like flames in the darkness. I could feel Lila's fingers gripping mine tightly, her resolve unyielding. "We need to find somewhere safe," she breathed, her pace never wavering even as the alley narrowed and the shadows closed in. "Where do we go?" I whispered, desperation creeping into my voice as the reality of our flight set in. Suddenly, Lila stopped, glancing around as if searching for a solid place to land amidst the tempest surrounding us. I could see the gears turning in her mind, urgency mixed with determination. "There." She pointed to a worn storefront just ahead, its windows dim, the closed sign hanging limply in the glass, half obscured by grime. "Quick!" We raced toward it, and Lila pushed the door open, the rusty hinges groaning in protest. I slipped through just ahead of her, and we took refuge inside, our breaths mingling in the stale air, the shadows swallowing us whole. The shop was cluttered and dimly lit, remnants of what seemed like a long-abandoned antique store tucked away in the city's forgotten corners. "Do you think they saw us?" I panted, my voice trembling as the door creaked shut behind us. The silence that enveloped us felt both safe and suffocating, pressing in from all sides. "That I don't know," Lila replied, visibly shaken but maintaining her composure. She glanced around, her eyes scanning the cluttered shelves filled with dusty memorabilia. "We need to hide. They can't find us here." "But Ethan," I started, the name slipping involuntarily from my lips. It landed like a weight between us, a reminder of the storm we were fleeing. "He doesn't matter right now, Ashley. Please." Lila's tone was sharp yet earnest, cutting through the haze of my swirling thoughts. "You need to focus on getting somewhere safe. We'll deal with everything else later. Her urgency stung, but there was the knot of truth in her words. I nodded, swallowing hard, the ache in my chest suffocating as I wrestled with the duality of my feelings. I had trusted Ethan once, seeing in him something that felt strangely real. But now I couldn't trust, the shadow of uncertainty looming over him, a precarious balance of conflicting emotions teetering on the edge of a knife. As we crouched behind a tall stack of boxes, I caught a glimpse of Lila's hands trembling. "Hey," I whispered, inching closer. "Well, be okay that we have to be," she replied fiercely, but I could see the flicker of fear in her eyes, a vulnerable crack in her facade. It intensified the responsibility resting on my shoulders. I was reminded that while I might feel lost amidst the chaos, Lila had possibly sacrificed her safety for mine. Then, in that dim sanctuary, hope arrived in an unexpected form. A single beam of light cut through the room, illuminating a forgotten corner where a small door stood ajar. Something about it felt like an invitation, an escape route that promised freedom from the weight of our uncertainties. "Look." I gestured toward the light. "Should we?" Lila questioned, her hesitation evident, the choice weighing heavily upon both of us. But I could sense it too, the pulse of opportunity echoing in our heartbeats. She met my gaze, searching for affirmation, and I nodded resolutely. "Let's take the chance that we slipped through the small door, its narrow frame barely accommodating our escape." The passage narrowed and twisted, darkness wrapping around us like a cloak as we navigated its bones. Just as panic started to claw at my throat, we stumbled into a forgotten courtyard, the moon shining overhead, silver light illuminating the cracks in the brick. Then came the shattering sound of glass escaping the storefront behind us, an eruption of chaos breaking our cocoon of safety. I nearly jumped out of my skin, adrenaline spiking again. "They found us," Lila's breath hitched, and she darted to the side, tugging me along. "Run!" We dashed across the courtyard, the echoes of our footsteps swallowed by the night. But then the sharp bark of laughter erupted behind us, chilling and haunting. "Did you really think you could escape that easily?" A shiver slithered down my spine, the urgent need to flee igniting my feet, but within me, a flicker of anger surfaced, banishing fear for just a moment. I was no longer running away, I was fighting for my life, my choice mingling with Lila's courage. As we approached another alley, I heard the grinding metallic echo of footsteps slapping against the cobblestones behind us, a steady pursuit intent on reclaiming what they believed to be theirs. Just as we rounded the corner, a figure stepped into our path from the shadows, blocking our escape, the glimmer of familiar blue reflecting back at us, shattering the fragile hope that had built within. Ethan, out of breath but fierce, pleading eyes snapping tight against the impending chaos, ready to make another desperate stand. "You don't want to do this." But even as the darkness pulled me toward choices I feared, a new thread of unease tightened around my heart, a realization that even now, with my sister beside me, I remained shackled to a reality where every decision threatened to fracture our bond further, a world fraught with complication and threat. I stood at the precipice, yet again, holding my breath against the weight of my unknown future. And just like that, the crushing darkness shifted, what loomed ahead felt ever so real, and as if orchestrated by fate, the stakes grew higher, a countdown beginning that echoed like a heartbeat in my chest. The tension hung heavy in the air, a noose tightening around us as I locked eyes with Ethan. His face, once a sanctuary of warmth, now radiated anxiety, a harsh reminder of the confusion swirling within me. "Ashley," he breathed, his voice strained, "please listen to me. You need to trust me." "Trust you?" I spat, the words laced with bitterness, every syllable drenched in betrayal. "After everything? You were the one that dragged us into this." My own voice startled me, shaking with raw emotion. Lila shifted anxiously beside me, her grip tightening. "Ethan, we don't have time for this." She intervened, her voice trembling yet defiant. "They're right behind us. You're either with us or against us." The distance between us seemed to stretch infinitely, the gaps filled with unspoken words and shared histories that now felt frayed. Ethan stepped forward, the resolve in his eyes faltering as he hesitated, his posture softening. "You don't understand, then help me understand," I demanded, every word pulling at the frayed strings of my heart. Why? Why did you do this to us? He looked haunted, a familiar shadow of vulnerability appearing in the depths of his blue gaze. Because I thought I could protect you, he whispered, as if speaking the words out loud would bring clarity to the storm raging around him. The people after you, they're dangerous. I didn't want you involved in this world. By lying to me? By putting my life at risk? I felt my chest constricting, caught between the whirlwind of anger and a flickering ember of something that resembled hurt. You didn't even give me a choice. Before he could respond, the sound of heavy boots echoed through the alley, the footfalls growing louder, a reminder that our window of escape was shrinking. I turned to Lila, her eyes wide with fear, mirroring the panic racing through my veins. What do we do? Run. Now. She urged, urgency lacing her words. The decision felt heavier than gravity itself, but I heard Ethan's voice break through the clamor of my thoughts. No. Wait. His hand shot out, grabbing my wrist before I could dart away. Just listen. If you stay with me, I can help you. We can get through this together. If only the boundaries of choice were clearer, I could have moved forward without the burden of indecision. But the clarity was clouded by my emotions, a tempest that threatened to drown me in the whirlpool of relief and despair swirling around Ethan. I took a deep breath, willing myself to find my voice. Together? You mean me blindly following your lead? The same lead that put us both in jeopardy. His expression darkened, the light in his eyes flickering like a dying ember. I can get you to safety. Just trust me one last time. Trust? You've broken that trust, I shot back, glancing toward the alley where shadows slithered like sentinels waiting just out of sight. Ethan's expression softened, revealing a hint of desperation. I can't bear the thought of losing you again, he implored, his voice trembling under the weight of his plea. In that moment, a deep longing broke through my anger, yearning for the certainty I once felt, but darker realities clawed at the edges of my mind. I wrestled with the urge to not only accept his offer, but to believe in the person he used to bait a protector, the confidant, the man who once lit up my life. But now, every heartbeat echoed the burden of risks taken. Just how much trust was I willing to gamble? A chilling laugh echoed once more through the alley, sharper and more haunted than before, signaling that our time was dwindling. You need to decide. Lilith's voice broke through my reverie, grounded and steady, snapping me back to the present. We need to go, now. The sound of crackling glass filtered through, and fear surged as I understood what was at play. I glanced between Lila and Ethan, heart racing, caught between two worlds, one fueled by betrayal and the other by undeterred loyalty. I felt torn through the fibers of my soul, every beat of my heart driving the stakes a little higher. What are you going to choose, Ashley? Ethan's voice lowered as he stepped closer. Choose now. Lilith's voice intensified, urgency pouring through her veins, but in the chaos, another figure materialized from the shadows, standing defiantly against the alley wall. I took a step back, instinctively reaching for Lila, just as a chill ran up my spine, sensing the presence of another threat. Ethan, the newcomer drawled, a sly smile curling his lips, looks like you're not alone after all. Everything about him radiated danger and unfathomable power, anchoring the darkness that followed. I didn't recognize him, but a primal instinct clawed at me, foreboding flooding the air. Suddenly, I was no longer just standing at a crossroads, I was caught in a web of fear, betrayal, and the unknown, the cost of my choices looming larger than ever before. And in that moment, the reality of my predicament crystallized. Choices had an electrifying weight, they could bind you or shatter you, and our fates were intertwined with the very choices we made. Run, my voice broke through the spell of uncertainty, a truth emerging from the depths of my heart. Run now, but the words hung in the air, suspended in time, even as every ounce of instinct screamed for me to move. I felt the world unravel, destiny pushing us toward a precipice, one where the rise and fall of our future would damn or deliver us at its mercy. And the question remained, what awaited us on the other side of truth? As we bolted down the narrow alley, shadows loomed behind us, the echoes of our footsteps mingling with the ominous crunch of gravel underfoot. Lila led the way, her determination palpable, while my heart pounded in rhythm with the chaos surrounding us. I couldn't help but glance back at Ethan, who seemed to hesitate, trapped in his own battle of fear and obligation. "Ashley." He called out, desperation coating his voice. "Wait," but I couldn't. I couldn't risk it. Not again. The betrayal still stung, the memory of his lies echoing in the recesses of my mind, mingling uncomfortably with the remnants of my feelings for him. I shot a glance at Lila, who paused just long enough to suggest she felt the same mix of anxiety and unease. "Keep moving," she urged, her own voice taut with urgency, pushing me to the forefront. "We have to get away from here. He's not the only one after us." The sudden change in our surroundings became a blur, the dim alleyways, the storefronts blurred by the frantic pace of our escape. But as I rounded the corner, something drew my attention, the flickering neon sign of a cafe up ahead, long closed for the evening. It felt like a single beam of warmth amid the encroaching darkness. My legs faltered as I hesitated. "That we can't stop here," Lila urged, pulling me toward the next street. "That I just need a moment, please," I gasped, overwhelmed by the sheer intensity of it all. "What if he can help us? Ethan is not just a friend now." Lila's voice rang with finality, her grip firm as she steered me away from the cafe. "He's tangled in something dangerous, and so are we. We need to focus on getting to safety, not nostalgia." My heart tugged at the memory of simpler days, Ethan in the sunlit laughter of afternoons gone by, the warmth between us a shield against the world. But just as quickly, the weight of reality crashed around me. That warmth had turned to ice, and the shadows closing in were too threatening to ignore. As we reached the end of the street, I caught movement in the reflections of glass windows, twisting figures encroaching from the alley. Panic surged, and I gasped, turning to Lila. "What do we do?" We dove into an adjacent alley, pressing our backs against the brick wall, praying for the shadows to pass us by. The sounds of footsteps came closer, voices murmuring ominously, filling the air with uncertainty. "That we stick to the plan," Lila whispered, her breathing steady despite the atmosphere weighing heavily upon us. "We need to head for the docks. There might still be a way out." Just then, the echoes of laughter cut through the tension, taunting and sinister, rising up like smoke. It seemed an eternity as we braced ourselves, determining if the footsteps would reveal friends or foes. My heart raced as a familiar figure stepped into the light. "It's about time you two showed up." Ethan's voice carried a hollow chill, his usual warmth marred by a facade of dread. "I thought I lost you." Lila tensed beside me, caught between her instinct to trust and a hostility toward him that mirrored my own. "You can't be serious. You led them straight to us." "I didn't know they were coming," Ethan pleaded, his face a swirl of contrasts. "But we need to leave now." But as he spoke, another laughter ricocheted through the narrow streets, a voice slick with confidence, the tension skipping like stones across water. "Do you really think you can escape?" The figure of the newcomer, man with sharp features and an arrogant smirk, moved into view, the dangerous glint in his eyes making my skin crawl. "How about we make this interesting?" he taunted, his voice like honey laced with poison. "You can't leave without knowing the truth about what's at stake here." The walls of the alley closed in on me, a vice of fear and curiosity, both terrifying and intoxicating. There was something about his presence, a magnetic dread that gnawed at me. The promise of knowledge, even if it was soaked in danger, beckoned like a siren's call. "What truth?" I managed to say, my voice barely a whisper. He stepped closer, eyes gleaming. "About Ethan. About why the people after you are after all of us." Ethan's face paled, fury flickering behind his anxiety. "Don't listen to him, Ashley. He's manipulating you." But Lila and I exchanged quick glances, uncertainty hanging heavily between us, a palpable thrum against our hearts. Choices loomed larger than ever, each one pulsing with consequences that could fracture our fragile reality further. "What do you know?" I asked, my voice steady despite the chaos swirling inside. That he stepped back, a smirk still dancing on his lips. "Enough to know that truth is the most dangerous weapon of all. But it's up to you. Are you willing to risk everything to uncover it?" The question was as sharp as a blade, and in that moment, I felt the ground shift beneath my feet, a precarious balance between curiosity and fear, between trust and betrayal, and then, in a startling turn, Lila grabbed my wrist. "We need to run. Now." The wail of sirens wailed in the distance, a sobering reminder of the crumbling world around us. But as I hesitated at the precipice of this new revelation, a sudden surge of fear created a riptide within me that we might never get this chance again. I whispered, torn, yet the shadows deepened as figures emerged, and the word ran through my mind like wildfire, whispers of destruction and choices yet unmade. I wavered at the edge of a terrifying cliff, toward truth or away toward safety. As the danger closed in, everything felt unresolved, a potent blend of fear and resolve flickering around us. And with the stakes higher than ever before, I had to wonder where this road would lead us, toward salvation or despair, as we stood on the brink of a life-changing decision waiting to entrap us. As the echo of footsteps grew louder, I felt time stretch thin around us, bending under the weight of urgency. Lila pulled me into motion, and I followed reluctantly, glancing back just once at Ethan. His face was a storm of emotions: anger, regret, and something deeper, something that felt dangerously like hope mingling with desperation. That we slipped deeper into the alley's shadows, ducking behind discarded crates and old dumpsters, each hiding place a breath of reprieve from the encroaching chaos. My heartbeat thudded in my ears as adrenaline surged through me, each pulse a reminder of what we stood to lose. "He's lying, Ashley. Don't listen to him." Ethan's voice, desperate yet calm, carried through the darkness, a lifeline I could almost grasp. But doubt had a way of eating away at resolve, and the sinister smirk of the stranger lingered in my mind. That we rounded a corner and stopped, panting, our backs pressed against the brick walls. "What do we do now?" I managed between breaths, leadership slipping from Lila's grasp as uncertainty took hold. "Get to the docks," she reaffirmed, though the tremor in her voice betrayed her composure. "We need to regroup, think rationally." Before I could respond, Ethan was there, emerging from the darkness like a flickering flame, his urgency palpable. "I can help. There's a way out that they don't know about." But his eyes flickered past us into the alley, a silent acknowledgement of the danger drawing near. That I wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe in the boy who shared secrets in the quiet of cafe corners and whispered promises of forever. But the memories were wrapped in a bitter weight, knots tightening in my chest as I wrestled with forgotten trust. "Tell me everything," I urged, words tumbling out before I could weigh them, blood rushing hot in my veins. "What's this truth? Who are those people?" Ethan hesitated, the shadows around us stretching, his face shifting almost imperceptibly as if he was calculating something deeply personal, something raw. "You don't want to know that," he finally said, voice low, almost soft. "But I do," I insisted, gazing into his eyes, hoping to find a spark of the person I once knew. "I need to know why you didn't tell me. You let me walk into this confusion alone." His expression fractured, the echoes of regret etching lines across his brow. "I thought I could protect you from this. I didn't want to drag you into my mess." We were teetering on the edge of understanding and anger, words held like weapons, mistrust clinging to the air between us like humidity before a storm. Lila's fingers gripped my arm, pulling me back from the razor's edge of vulnerability. "We have to move, Ash. Please." Before I could respond, the sound of footsteps caught my attention again, this time, in a smoother rhythm, as if they danced closer. My heart raced, recalling the sinister laughter, and I turned my focus back to Ethan. "We can't trust him," I pressed. "No more lies, this isn't just about me," Ethan hissed back, frustration bubbling in his voice. "This is bigger than anything we imagined, and I'm caught in the middle." If you knew why a steel-gray figure appeared from the dimness, and the air between us thickened with an unnamed dread. Ethan's eyes widened, and before he could say another word, the figure lunged forward. It was the stranger with the poisonous smile, the one who first teased us with the promise of truth. "End of the line, kids," he said, his voice oily and smug, dripping with malevolence, the shadows swirling around him like a cloak. "You can't run from what you don't understand." Panic surged through my veins as Lila instinctively pulled me closer. "We won't let you take us." She shot back, her voice rising above the tension, defiance igniting like a match, but the figure laughed, a sound that sent shudders racing down my spine. "Oh, but this is about so much more than you or your friend," he stated, voice honeyed with menace. "This is about Ethan's secret." "Stop!" I screamed, dread pooling in my stomach. "What are you talking about?" With deceptive calm, he took a step closer. "You're wrapped in it, sweet girl. Stay close to Ethan if you want to know the truth that led you to this very moment." Ethan shot me a look infused with urgency and fear, the storm within him raging. "Stay back, Ashley. Don't listen to him." But the stranger slipped his hands into his pockets, taking in the moment, basking in the chaos had created. Isn't it a lovely game of cat and mouse? The longer you cling to him, the more you invite danger. Just then, a flicker of memory sparked to life, someone hinting at a hidden past, snippets of conversations weaving through the haze of my mind. What if there was more to Ethan than I ever realized? "Please," I breathed, fighting against the tide of confusion. "Just tell me." The man's eyes danced with amusement, a predator enjoying the hunt. "Wouldn't you like to know? But here's the beauty of it, it's not that simple." Without warning, a gunshot rang through the air, ricocheting off the alley walls, sharp and jarring. Both Ethan and Lila ducked, but I found myself frozen in place, adrenaline pumping through me. My vision blurred as chaos erupted around Ushido's darting, silence shattered, and I realized in that moment the depths of danger we faced. The stakes were rising, and I could lose everything: the past, the present, and a little flickering hope for the future. As we scrambled back into the dark recesses of our surroundings, I felt something crash against my heart, a realization that propelled us further into darkness, a mystery intertwined with love, danger, and betrayal, leading us into the murky depths of uncertainty, with the truth still just out of reach. I grasped for the thread of chance that remained and clung to it with all my strength. Whatever lay ahead, nothing would ever be the same again. The alley swallowed us deeper into its folds, the distant sounds of chaos muffled behind layers of brick and debris. My heart raced as adrenaline surged through my veins, propelling me away from the danger that had found us. Lila's grip on my arm was firm, her knuckles white, her breaths coming in sharp bursts. Ethan flanked Ushi's presence, somehow both promising and perilous. That we reached a dilapidated building that seemed to loom over us like a skeleton, its broken windows resembling hollow eyes watching our every move. "In here," Lila whispered urgently, pushing open a rusty door barely hanging on its hinges. We hesitated for a moment, the remnants of fear anchoring our feet to the ground. Ethan stepped forward, breaking the spell that held us captive. "No one will find us inside," he assured, his voice steady despite the chaos outside. I wanted to believe him, to trust that the boy I once knew would guide us through. But the air was thick with uncertainty, every second stretching into infinity as we waited for the inevitable crash of footsteps, or worse. Once inside, the flickering light bulb overhead seemed to share our anxiety, flickering erratically like a heartbeat struggling to keep rhythm. Dust motes danced in the air, illuminated momentarily before fading into darkness, much like the memories I was trying to cling to. I looked around, noting the remnants of what was once someone's home, a worn couch covered in sheets, a table overturned, memories scattered like broken glass. "Stay quiet," Lila urged, her eyes darting to every corner, every shadow. She was always the protector, the one who shielded me from storms both literal and metaphorical. I could feel her fear echoing in my chest, a palpable reminder that our safety was tenuous at best. Ethan remained close, his presence radiating a warmth I desperately craved, but every second felt charged with the electricity of unsaid things. I could still hear the echo of the stranger's words, the unsettling truth that had hung in the air like smoke. "What did he mean when he said this was about you?" I asked Ethan, my voice barely above a whisper, a tremor breaking the calm facade I tried to maintain. The question hung between us, weaving in and out of the silence, and I could feel Lila tense beside me, her eyes narrowing even as she guarded against the door. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, frustration flickering behind his stormy eyes. "I didn't want you to know, Ashley. I thought I could keep you safe by keeping you in the dark," he admitted, his voice edged with guilt. "But the darkness is what makes you vulnerable," I pushed back, tears prickling my eyes, the weight of betrayal heavy on my heart. "You left me out there to fend for myself, Ethan. How can I trust you? I never meant to leave you, he replied, desperation folding into his words. I thought everything would stay buried, that people would forget about my past. But it found me, and now it's threatening you. Lila glanced at us, sensing the shift, the turmoil spiraling between Ethan and me. We need to focus on where we go from here. We can't change what's already happened, she interrupted, grounding us with her strength. We need to lay low until we find a way out. We have the docks as our exit point, where we might not even be safe, Ethan interjected. They have eyes everywhere. A sound echoed through the building, a creaking noise that set my heart racing. I felt a chill wash over me, amplifying my sense of vulnerability. What's that? I whispered, panic slipping beneath my skin. Lila stepped forward, straining to hear above the cacophony of our racing hearts. We need to. Her words were cut off by the thunderous sound of footsteps reverberating through the empty spaces outside. Hide! Ethan urged, pushing us toward the back of the room. He quickly scanned for a place to conceal ourselves, and we ducked behind the upturned table while the footsteps drew closer, their rhythm primal and menacing. Behind the table, bathed in half-light, I felt the weight of tension build, each tick of time amplifying the fear swirling within me. I could see Ethan's profile, the way tension coiled in his jaw, and my heart ached with the loss of the boy I once knew. How quickly circumstances had turned him into a shadow of who he was. The door swung open suddenly, and my breath stalled in my throat as a figure stepped into view, a silhouette haloed by light. My pulse thundered in my ears. This wasn't the stranger from before. Ethan. The voice called out, gravelly and low. Relief washed over me, undoing some of the tension that had me coiled. Jack, Ethan whispered back, recognition sparking in his eyes. What are you doing here? My heart steadied for a moment, the promise of hope branching out within the chaos. Perhaps Jack was an ally, someone who could pull us from the edge of this impending disaster. I leaned closer, straining to catch a glimpse of his face, searching for signs of assurance, but as Jack stepped fully into the room, his features became clear, and the calmness on his face sent my heart plummeting back into despair. He wasn't here to help, he was the darkness that loomed behind Ethan, the truth he had tried to keep from me. With a startling clarity, I heard Jack's next words, and they wrapped around my heart like chains. You didn't think you could escape this, did you? The truth is about to come out, and I'm here to make sure it does. The knife of betrayal cut deep, and I looked at Ethan, his expression a whirlwind of emotions: fear, regret, but mostly, a profound sorrow steeped in secrets. Whatever future I had envisioned, whatever hope remained, felt like sand slipping through my fingers. The stakes were higher than I ever imagined, and just when I thought I grasped the threads of truth, I found myself woven deeper into a web of deceit that threatened to consume us all. As the darkness closed in around us in that crumbling sanctuary, I felt the tension in the air shift like a tightening noose. Jack stood before us, a harbinger of revelations that threatened to shatter the already fragile world I had come to know. My heart raced, echoing with uncertainty, as Ethan's gaze darted between me and Jack like a wounded animal cornered. Did you really think you could slip away unnoticed? Jack smirked, his eyes gleaming with a predatory gleam that chilled my bones. You're not in control here, Ethan. You've played your cards poorly. Ethan's jaw clenched, his anguish cutting deeper than any knife. You don't know what you're doing, Jack. Just let her go. His voice trembled slightly, vulnerability breaking through the bravado that had previously defined him. It was a stark reminder of the boy I once knew, the boy who promised to shield me from the storm. That I am afraid it's too late for that, Jack replied with insistent calm. All that's left is the truth. How long will you protect her from what she really needs to know? Every word Jack spoke felt like an accusation drumming at the door of my mind. What was this truth? Shut up. I finally found my voice, hoarse and shaky, a fragile weapon against the tide of chaos surging toward me. This is about more than you or your twisted game, Jack. You're trying to manipulate Ethan, and I won't stand for it. Jack's laugh echoed dry, devoid of warmth or humanity. Sweet girl, you're already caught in the web. The only way out is through revelation. You want to understand why danger surrounds you? Look to the one you trusted most. With trepidation coursing through me, I looked at Ethan, desperation flooding my senses. "Please, tell me the truth," I urged, my voice barely above a whisper. "What is he talking about? What did you hide from me?" Ethan's expression shifted, anguish flickering like a candle in the wind. "Ashley, I didn't want you to get hurt. The people after us theory not just random criminals. They're after me because of what I know," he finally confessed, the weight of his words heavy in the musty air around us. Tension vibrated through the space, thickening as I processed his admission. "What do you know? What could possibly warrant this kind of attention?" He hesitated, weighing the gravity of his next words carefully. "I was involved in things I shouldn't have been, financial schemes, hidden dealings. I thought I could make a difference, but it spiraled out of control. I was offered a way to secure my future through risky paths, and now they want to silence me. If they think you're with me, they'll come after you too." The weightiness of his admission pressed down like an iron weight, wrapping around my heart with icy fingers. That a fuming silence loomed between us, punctured only by the heavy breaths exchanged in the dark. I turned to Jack, who reveled in the tension, a specter of malevolence awaiting my next move. "You want the truth. The truth is that your blind trust in him has put you in danger." "He's merely a pawn," Jack sneered, stepping closer as if feeding off the chaos between us. "Enough," I snapped, my voice rising defiantly. "You try to turn us against each other. But I won't let fear control me. I deserve the truth." "Very well," Jack smiled, drawing nearer, his hands clasped in a sinister gesture. "Let me enlighten you." Then he paused dramatically, illuminating every dark corner of the room with his menacing presence. "Ethan was part of a syndicate deals that reek of corruption. He thought he could play both sides, but now he's stuck, and so are you." "Stop!" I shouted, finding my resolve amidst the shadows. "I'll decide my fate, not you." Jack stepped closer, eyes smoldering with contempt. "You think you can fight back? You wonder how long your life can last, constantly running, trying to escape. The truth is, Ethan is not the protector here. He is the storm. And I can show you safety if you're willing to embrace it." "Safety?" I repeated, my heart thundering in my chest, doubt creeping in line with fear. "Is that what you offered? A way out of this chaos by bringing a new kind of peril? Safety lies in the shadows," Jack said smoothly, lifting a hand as if to pull me into his orbit. "You could be under my wing, shielded from Ethan's mistakes. All you have to do is choose." That I hesitated, a maelstrom of emotions roiling within me. What did safety even mean anymore? The cost of truth was rising at a terrifying pace, the weight against my soul pulsing, tearing, shifting. Then, a memory flared me. Sister Lilla's face filled with unwavering courage, pulling me from peril again and again, illuminating the paths of darkness before me. "I'm not afraid of the storm, Jack," I said, my voice steady, the vulnerability sharpening into something resolute. "I refuse to let you dictate my choices. I refuse to let you or any shadows consume me." In that moment, the air thickened with intensity, the fabric of reality twisted, threads of futures colliding. I felt tangible warmth suffuse me, a shield of loyalty, forged through trials. Turning to Ethan, I locked eyes with him, feeling the chasm of our history trembling beneath our feet. "Ethan, I might not fully understand what you've done, but I trust you." The words poured out, a promise that echoed between USA bond forged in chaos, lingering with remnants of fear and hope. As Jack's mirth faded, replaced with surprise, I continued, and every word felt like a reclaiming of my future. "We will confront this together. We will face our truth. We will not play your game." Jack took a step back, disbelief flickering in his eyes as if I had shattered a carefully crafted illusion. "You think you can defy the truth? Truth isn't a weapon unless you allow it to be," I said, strength rising, coursing like fire through my veins. "The only weapon we need is courage." "You'll regret this, Ashley," he sneered, but I felt an inexplicable lightness wash over me, finally free from the tendrils of manipulation that had bound me before. Ethan stepped forward, determination igniting in his eyes. "We're done playing your game, Jack. Leave us out of your chaos, or you'll face consequences." A brief flicker of recognition passed between us, understanding forged in shared resolve. As Jack's confidence wavered, I understood this was our momentous collision of choice and fate, ready to be reshaped, ready to dissolve any ties that no longer served us. With renewed conviction, we turned to the door, leaving Jack standing there, still a pillar of darkness. The air felt clearer as we stepped into the night, the cool breeze whispering promises of hope and redemption. I took Ethan's hand, steadying him as he pulled away from the shadows that we stepped cautiously into our uncertain future, hearts pounding against the weight of this night, a night of chaos and revelations, but armed with the knowledge of what it meant to confront the truth and the courage to rise above it. Whatever comes next, we face it together, I promised, grasping his hand firmly, entangled in each other's fate. Together, we would discover what lay ahead, navigating through the labyrinth of danger, uncertainty, and yes, perhaps even forgiveness. I looked to the horizon. Shadows would linger, but now they felt less oppressive. The darkness would not consume us. And in the face of the unknown, the final words tumbled from my lips, "Well, create our own light."